TV.
Whenever there's a crisis, there's always an opportunity.
Yeah, COVID has made people millionaires.
Exactly. So,
Look at it.
Kanyarati,
Yes.
on the flip side now, do we have any positive things that have been birthed from this Tesco Kakuzi situation?
Now,
If we can reduce the middle process, the middlemen in
Yeah,
the middle,
the middlemen.
I know they make money and they're part of the system.
They're not called middlemen.
They're
called
middlemen.
consolidators.
No.
Aggregators.
Middlemen.
Yes, aggregators.
They are those are
From
middle.
this-
It's a good term.
Yes.
You can, of course,
It's a fancy term of a broker. Ni broker amevaa tai.
It's a broker. These same farmers can come together and create and understand finally, you know what? We need to be our own exporter.
So the power over like a cooperative.
Why haven't they come together, created their own product in terms of branding, systems and export?
You want a honest answer or you want me to
No.
massage
That's
you?
not what I'm saying. My point is this: there will always be the usual, what you call underworld, people not letting you thrive.
Where do you expect these other exporters to get their produce once these people start from?
And I agree.
That is the pure mentality.
And listen, do you know what? And that's why we are saying now that it has happened.
So they
then
start.
what? It's a big question which they need to ask themselves. Can we come together, form that? Because we've always had the cooperative movement. Do you know Kenya is the biggest cooperative movement in the world?
Let them form a cooperative and sell to these exporters.
So
that's
you,
what I can agree.
in short, you are saying, I think that's what Nikabaki is saying. Farmers wakibaki pale nyinyi msikuje pande, msivuke. That's what you are saying, Nikabaki.
Apana,
You're telling me don't come
no.
this side.
They can do it, which is very interesting.
Amazing.
What do you think between the negatives and the positives when it comes to the effects that the Tesco Kakuzi fiasco has had on the smallholder farmer? You can post your comments below and we can be able to just pick your side. Is it the Nick side or is it the Kanyarati side? This is Business Conversation on Clean Money TV with Odipo G, Nick and Kanyarati. I hope you're well. I hope you've had a fabulous week. This is Business Conversation with Odipo G, Nick and Kanyarati on Clean Money TV, and we have been looking at the Tesco Kakuzi fiasco. We want to see, has there been any effect positively to value addition? What has it triggered in the minds of the farmers? Probably now, farmers might want to start thinking about doing oils, might want to think about drying, might want to think about processing, and we want to see if it's a possibility so that we can be able to extract some honey from this tight situation, or is there any hope? Kanyarati.
One of the things I am sure, irrespective of what we do, we have no choice but, and I think we've emphasized this in our past conversations, unless and until we start realizing that we must value add, the issues like Kakuzi's will always affect us somewhere down the road.
The smallholder farmers will always be affected.
And even big farmers at that rate.
Okay.
And it's true. I'm even surprised that Kakuzi is not producing oil right now for their own export, because I'm sure they still have a lot of waste based on what they are producing. But the thing is this: farmers themselves, the small farmer, the small producer is the one who will most probably feel the greatest impact of that loss. Why? Because they are not able to produce another higher value product from what they're already producing as a food.
What you had touched on, there's something you had touched on in the last episode together with Nick, the whole aspect of consolidation and aggregation, but now in terms of cooperatives. Now for the farmer,
Yes.
for the farmers.
Yes.
Because you see one farmer who has probably just 20 trees,
Yes.
another one has 100 trees, another one has 5, another one has 50, and so on and so forth. The person who has 10 trees cannot be able to do value addition by themselves. The person who has 2 acres, they cannot.
No.
But if they come together and use the consolidators mentality, let me not call them brokers, because Nick says they're not brokers. Using the consolidators principle, coming together, we can be able to do a reasonable level of value addition.
True.
So what exactly can we say that the farmers can be able to pick out? And even not just the farmers, because for us, one of the things that happened is Luckily for us, we thank God that what we do, we deal with herbs and spices. Now you see, when it comes to herbs and spices, we process them. So they can be at the farm, yes, no one is doing anything, we're not able to transport, or we're not able to sell, we're not able to export, and so on and so forth, but we're able to dry. And the moment something is dry, the shelf life increases already.
Many times over.
Yes, many times over, you know. Yes, I might not be able to export avocados, but if I press the oil, I've increased the shelf life. If I drum it, if I drum it properly, I have a whole 2 years.
2 years?
Yes, so, but when it comes to value addition, one of the things that's very key in value addition is volumes.
Yes.
And that's always the problem.
I agree.
That's always the challenge. But the solution you have mentioned is in the consolidation principle of cooperatives.
Yes.
I was in Makweni the other day, by the way, and the CEC there is doing some incredible job, Honorable Robert, but he likes to be called Bob, you know, and they have consolidated the fruit farmers. There's one particular group called Mafruits, you know. These are mango farmers. They have come together, and they brought exporters, plus the Ministry of Agriculture to the table, and told them this is the price we want.
I was actually part of that meeting.
You're part of that meeting?
Yeah, I was part of that meeting.
And one of the most interesting thing is the CEC was on the side of the farmers.
Yeah.
You should.
And they told the exporters, yes, and they told the exporters, this is our price. Take it
Or leave it.
You
Okay,
understand?
thing is,
I love that. I really love that.
It's a very good, very, very good concept. Okay?
Nick, I can see Nick pouring cold water slowly.
Ice cubes.
But it's okay.
Nick pours
It's okay.
ice
It's okay. I agree. Okay, go on.
It's a good concept. Okay? I really, really love the Makweni farmers. They are one, a very empowered lot. Two, they are supported by their county government. I mean, the governor, the CEC Agriculture, the chief officer, Madam Mary, and every other person. They are good people. They are really for these farmers. You see, but you need to look at agriculture. It's a business, okay? If I'm selling something at 18 shillings and you want me to buy from you at 20 shillings, is it going to work? Because it's a loss already. That is what I call a boardroom loss, okay? But when we negotiate and they tell you, okay, I'm going to sell it at 18 shillings, give it to me at probably 13 shillings because I need to buy a box, I need to pay the person who packs it, I need to also pay for freight. You see,
And I must make a profit.
and also must make
I'm
a
in
profit.
business.
I'm in business. Okay? So the element of a cooperative is to increase the negotiation power and not to bulldoze their way.
That's true. Although now the thing is, unfortunately, what happens is, you see, I love the fact that you're talking from the side of the exporter. So let me talk from the side of the farmer.
I was going to enter there, but it's all right.
You see, what happens is, what the argument I understood. I was in that Makweni meeting, and what I understood was the CEC was pushing for the farmers to get fair prices. You see, when you're coming to buy from a farmer, you can have there are two mentalities. The primary mentality that has been there for a very long time with the consolidators has been, let me try to buy as cheaply as possible. Let me try to
Make more
yeah,
profit on it.
exactly. Let me try to increase my margins by reducing the farmer's profit as much as possible. In fact, some have even gone to the point where they know that this particular area, these farmers, their crop is going to be ready next week. But if I just delay for 15 more days, the crop will start overripening.
And they become desperate.
They become desperate. So I will pop in their desperation as the savior. But what I'm doing, I'm taking advantage of the situation.
No.
That's what the minister was against. So what we are bringing forth is, we understand that yes, the exporter needs to make a profit, but we also as farmers also need to make a profit. So the thing is coming into a place where is a win-win, and I believe it can be a
The
win-win.
win-win situation
Yes.
I'll be honest, I really love the farmers, okay? The win-win situation here is to, one, remove the consolidator. Okay, because the consolidator will buy from you at 5, sell to me at 8, I need to sell at 9. There's nothing. So in between the consolidator and me, there's like a 5 shilling loss. Okay?
Which can actually come to the farmer.
Yes.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, which is a lot. So we're trying to remove this consolidator, okay, and have an exporter-farmer interaction.
Direct, yeah, because the people who attended and it was actually exporters.
It was only exporters. I know a few who were in that meeting. You see, so the moment we remove that consolidator and it remains a conversation between the farmer and the exporter, money will be made. Okay? But the moment we start talking about me relying on a consolidator to pick and bring it to me, the farmer will always suffer. So you guys now agree with me that we need to negotiate on the consolidator doing something else, probably providing transport.
Let me say something. I think you need to understand, and I'm living proof I've done it. There's a time I actually wanted to start selling tomatoes. So what did I do? I went to Kirinyaga, my village, those sides, and got potatoes. I even bought those crates.
Tomatoes.
Yeah, you put on crates. I had a pickup. In fact, it was my father's pickup that time. Had just finished university. Brought them to Wakulima. Was there at 4 a.m. Cold. Do you know I was told I can't sell my produce? Nobody's going to pick it, and nobody will even try. Even if they think they can buy my produce and they think it's nice, they will not. So first, the brokers there have
Cartels.
the cartel system there works perfectly. So first you're told, hizi ni yako, kama unataka wewe ngojea kaa nazo. You can even stay 2 days without selling. Total loss. But if you somehow, for whatever reason, you're in their good books and they think they can make more money out of you, they will gladly pick your produce. And know what they do? They tell you, mzigo yako iko wapi? Ndio hii, haya wewe enda. When you come back, you are paid not based on what you negotiated, based on what he wants to pay you, what he thinks is the right price for you. It's very complicated. And know what? They even now go even further. They don't even buy in bulk anymore. They start saying these ones are small, put them there, this is the price, these ones are big. The system is completely against the farmer. Now, you see now, I was trying to broke in between the farmer. Can you imagine that farmer now putting their things together? But I hear, and maybe if I'm not wrong, not very far here in Kiambu somewhere, there's what we are going to call it the farmers market. They are going to collect their produce, and only farmers who are already registered with the farm and everything. I'm not saying there'll be no corruption, don't get me wrong. I'm just thinking it's a place to start. Until farmers are empowered together and they're able to say, you know what, we understand your product, we are not being ridiculous. Even the prices they are paid really is crazy.
No, the farmers are really squeezed.
They are really squeezed. So it's time for farmers to come together. And I'll tell you what, I was reading somewhere clearly, it was saying, one of the biggest challenges, even when you tell farmers to come together, and you want to truly help them by providing loans, let's say for produce, for chemicals, for seedlings, all those things, you realize when it's very big again, you lose track of everything. So one of the advices which came up out of that research said, you need to create smaller, fine, you want bulk, but create smaller units that are easier to manage and you can be accountable to each other as farmers. At that level.
That's actually Makueni is doing that because it's not only my fruits, they have very many circles. They've been able, but they all fall under one.
Oh, so they're small. That's exactly what I was saying.
They're umbrella circles.
That's what exactly.
So what they do, they all form under one umbrella, but they're satellite circles. Okay, so that is able to one help improve quality. I know Isipe is really through a guy called Dr. Salunyasu. They're working on supporting the Makueni farmers.
Yes.
Yeah. There is USAID is supporting them on fruit fly management, but they come under one body. Then it's
in fact the Israelis are also very big in that part of the
there's an Israeli project also for control of fruit flies,
and also something called best practice. Best practice is not just a word or term; it includes the whole value chain.
Yeah.
So that must also be taken into consideration. Then you see, all these farmers until they are put into like now the suggestion was. Put them into groups of about 30, not more than 30. They know each other intimately. They can connect intimately. Then it'll be easier to grow their values as a group. So you say, that group don't buy from them. They are not interested. So you see, you're not saying 1,000 people. You're saying a small group. So like you're saying, once you get the small groups together, you can start talking bigger business with them. Because one, you're providing what they need.
Yeah.
And when it comes to things like money and loans, that's when you realize, unless those farmers are being provided those things, it will always be difficult for them to impact the end of the value chain.
What you're saying is very interesting, because one of the things I've come to appreciate is that whenever there's a crisis, anywhere, at any given sector, is an opportunity to think. Now, with the opportunity to think is where, in that thought process, that's where the wealth is. And where the wealth is, money will follow. You see, the challenge is farmers don't like putting those three things together. And when you put them together in that particular order is where you generate revenue. Many people want to go for the money directly without the thought process. Many people just want to make money the way they know. The channel is, I want to make this money. But to make this money, there's a thought process. And the thought process is where the wealth is. That's why we are given the ability by God to make wealth, to create wealth, not money. It's wealth.
Because and wealth could be verbal communication. Like what you are doing is creating wealth for someone else.
Exactly. And you know, it is in that wealth that where the money is. So I remember one time we harvested, or rather a friend harvested chili. And even us, we harvested a bit of chili, but he had more. So I can't remember the numbers exactly, but it was about a ton. Small parcel, got very good pili-pili. It was nice, and the exporter came and took, okay? And then there was a situation where something happened in the international market, and he had rejects of 700 kilos. So he only sold 300 kilos. 700 kilos was returned to the farm. So this young man had 700 kilos of chili.
He doesn't know where
He doesn't know what to do. He has no idea. We actually put it in our compost pit. At the time, we were not very good when it comes to value addition, you see. But out of that incident, I sat down and looked at that chili, and it was, that's 700 kilos. That's money, you know. Imagine if it was 7 tons or 70 tons of chili, which can happen. That is money. But if it was at this particular time,
you'll be so happy.
I would be ecstatic, because out of those 700 kilos, I will dry. Okay? Chances of me getting, give or take, 200 kilos of dry are very high. That 200 kilos, I will pack into 100 grams, 100 grams, 100 grams, because I have dried it. I can either grind it, or I can flake it and put it into flakes. Every 100 grams, I can easily sell for a minimum of $1. Okay? So when you do that math, it is better than me selling the fresh 700. It's better, because when it's fresh, you will sell probably between 50 and 80 shillings per kilo. Between 50 and 80 shillings. 50 and
but when it's value added,
yes,
the cost goes high.
A kg is more expensive than a kilo of fresh.
By far.
By far.
And even look at it, even when you get to the powder.
Even the powder, it's worse.
It's even.
And then now when you're talking about the powder, you can get the oil. You see?
Akabanga.
Like akavanga. You know akavanga, they do the oil for habanero. It's absolutely ridiculous, you know? And when you think about it now, not only in terms of, I like telling people, don't think of agribusiness in terms of a sector. Think it in terms of industries. A sector is like the food sector. You know, that's a sector, because it incorporates more or less the same thing. It's consumption, you know, human beings eating, animals eating. But when you look at it from a totally different industry, that industry might be doing something very different with chili. There's an industry that prefers chili oil because chili oil is very good for making certain chemicals, or it's like tear gas or whatnot, you know, how it can be used in the cosmetic industry, in the medical industry. So when you think about it like that, but that reasoning came about because a gap was created by the virtue of the off-takers returning 700 kgs. So in this situation where Tesco has stopped working with Kakuzi, we have smallholder farmers, many of them with a lot of produce. I see an opportunity for them to start thinking. I usually say, don't be afraid to think, it doesn't hurt. Actually, someone said that, and I was very impressed about it. No, don't be afraid to think, because it doesn't hurt, you know. So right now, there's an opportunity for farmers to start thinking beyond their norm, beyond their comfort zone.
And that's what we said.
Yeah.
unless they start thinking what other values can we add to that same fruit which they export. It's like, I mean, let's start there. Even you know, and I'm not very 100% sure about how exactly it's going to take place. But of course, farmers were very excited when they were told China is going to start buying in bulk.
China is a big market.
It's the biggest market in the world. Yes. So then they were told, oh, okay, so first fruit flies, but you're already exporting to Europe. So what do you mean our fruit flies? I don't think as bad a problem as we think they are. No. So we have passed that test. Then they said they want it frozen, peeled and frozen. That process is not complicated. But if farmers came together, and that's the one, you can actually peel that thing still by hand. Make sure it's, sanitized by using UV rays and that kind of thing, and then finally frozen.
Then you vacuum seal.
And vacuum seal. I believe it can be done. My point is, those are the small things they need to say. And then forget, oil may be another stage. You see, you have not moved very far from the fresh fruit, but you have provided something which no one else is doing. Yeah. So farmers in Moranga should ask themselves, so how do we export to China? There has to be a cooperative there that has to help them think. The government there should help them think. The county government of Moranga or Kirinyaga or wherever it is they are saying, all those things must come together collectively like Makueni. So that when people are sitting around the table, you're asking yourself the right questions. Why are we getting a lot of waste? The waste, we are going to do A. The fresh fruit, we are going to do B. This one, we are going to produce oil, C. We are going to do briquettes, D. We are going to, I mean, this whole thing has a value. Unfortunately, we are not looking at that thing. And that's what I would truly love to see smallholders realize, that they have a very good opportunity like now.
Let me ask, even as we close, yeah? There's someone watching who is planting something, you know, and there's always, or someone watching who has a contract with someone, you know, which is very good. It's always good to have a contract and everything. Peradventure something like this happens to them. How about we just, Nick, you can give 2, I give 2, and Kanyarati give 2, or even 1. What are some of the things that they can do to mitigate or protect themselves against a situation where your off-taker cannot be able to take your produce and the produce is ready?
One thing I'll always say, constant. Never put all your eggs in one basket. And 2, always look at your product as a reject.
Always look at your product
as a reject. So what would you do when it becomes a reject? Okay? Because yes, it's the best quality, but what if I tell you I can't take it? Then what? Okay? In agriculture, there is no reject. There's always use for that product. Yes. So before you get into any product, find the different options of that product. If it's avos, there's oil, there's pulp, there's plastic, biodegradable plastic. There's so much to do. So always find use for that and have like a series of takers for that produce. If it's oil, you know it's X. If it's fresh, it's Y. If it's briquettes, it's Z. If it's biodegradable plastic, it's all that. So that your shock is what is called a scare, but you're able to move on. Yeah, cool. That's what I can advise.
Kanyarati?
I would look at it by telling farmers that, one, this is a good opportunity to create yourself. Don't look at it like a loss. First start from our, no, unfortunately, we find farmers now whining and complaining, oh, now we can't sell. It's time to re-evaluate themselves and say, this is finally the time to think outside the box. They must finally do that and think how we can recreate ourselves. I think we've talked about the avocado completely. And let me give an example. I saw a YouTube movie, small clip, that a farmer doing on 2 acres. This lady, my God, you know, it was a game changer. She started with pigs, realized the waste. Yeah. So what does she do? She just throws the compost somewhere. After 2 days, weevils will start growing. Then she puts a cover on it after for another 48 hours to 2 to 3 days. You get, what do you call them? Snails, which she uses which are used as feed. from the same compost. Then the same compost is turned around to something else, which is used for, what do you call it? Can be used now for chicken feed, and also for pork feed. And then so my point is, she has even got fish, which she's using. She's not even buying any. The same thing is crushed again, and then she uses it. In short, the value chain, you can actually turn your farm around, creating a system, its own ecosystem, which creates end-to-end. Fish, there, she has fish. She has a few cows, which she says that dung is so valuable. She's even producing her own manure, which she's selling to farmers in town. Not just manure alone, but compost manure with soil. And she's saying it's so, that's what she's selling to people to grow their own kitchen gardens in the home. So in short, what I'm saying, we must think beyond just saying, I have a product, who's buying, where are they, where are the buyers? You must think outside the box. Because saying that we are always waiting for a broker is a mystery. It's time to rethink and get out of the box. The traditional thing that you handed down by some colonists has to change.
You've had it. You see, it's very simple. Right now, whether you're a smallholder farmer, whether you're a contracted farmer, don't be afraid to think. If I was to combine just what has been said by Nick and Kanyarati, it's very simple. Divide your market into 3. Primary, secondary, and tertiary. Okay? Again, look at it in terms of industry, not just a sector. Think of what industry, which other industry other than the consumption industry can be able to use your product. Again, don't be afraid to think. It doesn't hurt. Because when it comes to agriculture and agribusiness and agro-processing, look at it from the end coming this way. For instance, it's actually a principle that has been there since literally the beginning of time. By the time the world was being created, by the time the sky was being made, by the time the firmament, by the time the water, by the time the fish, man was already in place. So on the 6th day, man was already coming. But things needed to be done on the 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd and 1st day for man to come and be comfortable. So when you're planting something, don't plant it because, hey, Nick has planted the cabbages. Hey, Kanyarati has planted the onions. No. It is a matter of looking at it from the market coming this way. Don't be afraid to think again. It does not hurt. This has been Business Conversation on Clean Money TV, agribusiness all through and through, not agriculture, with Nick Abayo, Kanyarati Jackson, and Odipo G. Until next time, God bless you.